as I said, webinar has been presented by myself and Natasha Kobrak. So Natasha is our OneClick product manager. She is responsible for what goes into the product. She knows the OneClick product inside out. She was previously the CCH Portal product manager as well, so she knows Portal inside out. And my role is assisting practices with the process of migrating from CCH Portal to OneClick. So we're going to start this morning with a run through of the benefits of CCH OneClick. It is more than just messages and documents, or what we now call messages and documents, which was Portal, and also as well as improvements within the messages and documents functionality. Natasha is going to take you through some of the other functionality in OneClick. After she is finished, I'm going to discuss the migration process, what you need to know before the migration, what you will need to know during the migration, and what your clients will see as part of the migration process. And then, as I've said, we'll have questions and answers afterwards. We should be finished by 12 o'clock. So I'm now going to hand over to Natasha.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Richard. Obviously, a lot of you will have received communication regarding CCH Portal. We are, in fact, going to be decommissioning CCH Portal due to some of the legacy technology that we use on there. A lot of you will have heard of CCH OneClick. Most likely all of you will have heard of CCH OneClick. CCH OneClick was released in April last year, I think it was, wasn't it, Richard? It was. It's been quite a while now, and CCH OneClick was released as our new online hub, which would allow advisors and clients to access this online area and communicate with each other. And it has, the idea was always that we would be replacing CCH Portal with CCH OneClick. What you will find is that a lot of features that have been requested in CCH Portal over the years have in fact been addressed in CCH OneClick, and I hope to show you some of these today. I feel that for a lot of people who've been using CCH Portal, it would be a massive benefit for you to move over CCH to CCH OneClick, not only so that you can make use of all the newer technologies that we use, but also so you can make use of all of those features that have been requested so often to date. So what I wanted to start a little bit with is about CCH OneClick. Now, CCH OneClick, some of you may have seen webinars about it, but if not, just a bit of an introduction. It's an online application that both advisors and clients can log into. It allows you to see lots of different areas, so not just a messaging and document system. It's got access to third-party bookkeeping products, data collection tools, specifically around collecting data for personal tax, VAT return submissions. You can do that through there as well. There are lots and lots of different things in there, and it's really meant to be a one-stop shop for all those online tools that both employees and their clients will need to access during their day-to-day. As part of that, we did integrate the CCH Portal product into it, and we have in fact been improving that to date. So you will find that CCH Portal does exist within CCH OneClick, but it's been renamed Messages and Documents. As you can see, you've got a tile there saying Messages and Documents. That's actually the new name for this message and document exchange system, and it has obviously been vastly improved with features and back-end technologies as well. So just to start off with, what I wanted to show you was the client side of CCH OneClick. So in CCH OneClick, it's very similar to how Portal works. You can activate your clients for CCH OneClick through CCH Central, as you do with Portal to date. And when they activate and they log in, they will end up in the CCH OneClick workspace, and that's what you see in front of you now. CCH OneClick workspace can be customized with the particular products and and tiles that you need to do the work with your clients. In this particular case, we have Bruce Wayne, who not only has access to messages and documents, but he also has an area in there where he can do his own VAT returns if you want. So we have areas in CCH OneClick for a practice to manage that for their clients, but we do also have a facility for clients to be able to do that themselves. You'll also see over there on the right hand side a client area. Now, what is that client area? That client area is a place where clients can see the members of their client's team, which are the employees within the practice, who manage their account. So they will see that this information is actually pulled up from Central. So it is based on the settings in Central, and they can see all of those members of the practice that deal with their account. And if the practice has entered a particular employee photo under the employee record in Central, that will be brought up into CCH OneClick as well, and just gives a nice personal feeling for clients to put a bit of a face to a name. In this case, we have Anna Copeland and James Johnson, who bear very striking resemblances to Lady Gaga and Justin Bieber. So you can see here those two employees within the practice there. What you'll notice is that the top employee is has their role as well underneath. So Anna Copeland is the partner, and James Johnson, who is a junior employee, he doesn't have his role in there, and that's because you can actually customize whether you want to show their role or maybe you want to hide it. And that's because a lot of feedback that we got from practices was that some of the roles might be confidential. They may be internal roles that you don't necessarily use out to your clients, and therefore you might not want to show it. So you do have that option to customize that. But either way, it's a really nice entry point for clients to be able to straight away see these are the people who manage my business, and these are the tools that will help me do the work that I have to do with my advisor. So that is the entry point for CCH OneClick for the client. Now, if the client goes into the messages and documents area here, what the client will see is something very similar to what they see today for CCH Portal. So there won't be a huge amount of a learning curve there for clients. They see their messages segregated from their documents. So you can see there that the number of messages that they have and the number of documents in here. If they have any approvals, just with CCH Portal, they will see the approvals area, a little notification in here too. And also, so as you will already know, if that user happens to be associated to multiple client accounts, so maybe they are a director of a business and have their tax returns being done for them by the advisor, and also they have a business that the advisor is working on as well, they will see what we call swim lanes. So they will see their own affairs in here, and they will see their company's affairs as another row down here. So that hasn't changed, that is still in there. So not a huge learning curve in there. Another thing that we have improved, which we got a lot of good feedback on as well, is in product signposting. So we have something called CCH click-through, which basically bring up these on-screen prompts when a user first logs in and takes them through the application. So they really have this this interactive approach to learning how to use the software. So you can see an example of that here. When I log in for the first time, I can see here a little notification to tell me what it is that I'm looking at on my screen, and I can scroll through and it'll take me through the different tips on the screen of how to use the product. And once I've dismissed that, I can always bring that up again in this little university cap icon in here, which will bring up those tutorials. And you'll find that in every area of CCH OneClick, when you log in for the first time, it will notify you of how to use the items on that page. So it's got a really good approach to teaching your clients how to use the product. So that's, like I said, that this page is quite similar to CCH Portal. If I go into the next page and I go straight into the messages area, again, you're going to see here a very similar experience. But what you'll probably see that's slightly different is the left-hand menu. So we have a few items in here that are different. Some of the icons are slightly different. You've got messaging area in here. You've got a documents area in here. And probably what you'll find interesting as well is this back arrow, which if you click on it, it takes you back back into CCH OneClick. So that's probably the extent of the learning curve that your clients would have if they took on CCH OneClick. Now, once you're in the messaging area, if you're a client and you want to create a message, I think here's where you're going to find a lot of changes that have been made. If I go ahead and I create a message through here, just like I would do with CCH Portal, I'm taken to a new message screen, and that new message screen, you'll see some differences in there from CCH Portal, because as a client, when I go to create a message, the first thing that happens, or rather doesn't happen, is that all of my contacts are not automatically copied in to the message as they are to date. So if I wanted to add in any contacts that are associated to my account, then I'd have to choose this contact in here, and I'd have to add them in proactively. And we had a lot of feedback on that. That obviously it makes a lot more sense based on how people use email, that they are preconditioned to that particular approach of having to add in their contacts manually, and that is what we've changed towards. So they would have to add those contacts in. In addition to that, another thing which you will find very interesting, and it was probably the top item that we had on user voice in terms of features requested for CCH Portal, is the ability to copy in other employees. So you can go ahead in the to field and you can choose all the employees that you want to copy into your message. Those employees will be limited to employees who are obviously in that client's team in Central, so they couldn't go ahead and add in some random employee from the business that wasn't dealing with their account. They would have to be employees within the client team area, but it makes for a really good feature, especially when you have a particular employee that happens to be out of the office. The clients can go ahead and they can add in another employee to deal with their business while that other employee is away. And it's probably worth mentioning as well that employees on their side, they can also copy in other employees, their own colleagues in the business, into the communications that they have with their clients. So if a junior employee needs to copy in a partner to oversee the correspondence that he's been doing, he can do that too, and that can be done through CCH Central, and it can also be done through the advisor's own online area of CCH OneClick, and I'll be showing you that in a bit. So far we've got we have stopped the automatic copying in of contacts within the client's account, and we have also added the ability to copy in other members of the practice, so copying in other employees. So some big ticket items here that we have been requested. In addition to that, we have the ability to drag and drop files and folders into the message. So a user can choose to upload an individual file either through the add file button, or they can just drag that file into here. But where I think this really lends itself is if a particular user wants to upload a whole folder worth of documents into that particular browser, they can do that through here. So some clients obviously tend to be very, very organized. They have all their affairs in one particular folder, and they just want to literally pull all that content of that folder into the message, and they can just do that by pulling it into here. It's another top user voice requested item. And what happens when you pull that in is that it uploads those files individually into the message, and so the client doesn't have to necessarily go and pick one by one to add them all in there. So that's a drag and drop functionality that we've implemented in here as well. And on top of that, probably what you've noticed already is that we have some rich text formatting into this message as well. So that was another highly requested item that we had in user voice, was the ability for someone to really customize their message and give it a little bit of, let's say a little bit of flavor, because some of the messages do tend to come across as quite bare bones. So you'll see here that the client has the ability to change the font that they use. They can change the size into the font. They can also use the standard bold, italics and underlining, as well as being able to indent into left align and right align. But also what's interesting is that you can also add tables into here as well. So if you want to really section out some of the information that you're giving, you can add a table into there as well. So some really good functionality in that formatting area. And like with the cropping in of employees, you'll find that this particular feature is also available for your advisor, for the advisor as well. So all of your employees within the practice can use this too, and it's available through messages that you create in CCH Central, and it's also available for messages that are created for by the advisor through their own CCH OneClick access, which again I will be showing you in a bit. So all of those messages that you send to your clients, you can nicely format them out to give them a little bit more of a professional appeal, let's say. So that's a creating message. You'll see lots of new functionality in there. That's all in CCH OneClick now. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give you a quick overview of the advisor side. So just like you can with CCH Portal today, you still very much have the ability to send your messages through Central. You've got the message center screen, which you'll use today with CCH Portal. That still exists for CCH OneClick. You can go ahead and you can compose your messages in there. You can push up documents that you've created in your compliance products that will go to your client's messages and documents system, so just like CCH Portal. But what we also have is we have that online access as well for accountants. So when an accountant logs in, they will see their own side of CCH OneClick, and you can see there that there are lots more products in there. That's because really the first few versions of CCH OneClick have really focused on some of the new online tools that accountants can use in order to manage their clients' work. So you'll see here lots of stuff around making tax digital. It will include things like quarterly submissions for income tax and also for VAT as well. We've got open integration, which will allow you to link up to your clients' bookkeeping products and pull that data back from the bookkeeping products and pull it down into accounts production. You can also sync up any adjustments from Central straight back in there. You've got access to a lovely data collection area as well. There's lots of practices using that at the moment, which allows you to send out digital information requests to your clients. Instead of your kind of standard offline templates, you send that out. They in turn will receive it in their own CCH OneClick, and they can go ahead and pop any information in there. They can attach documents and you will see it straight coming back to you straight away. You can approve it, you can push it down into the personal tax return. So it's a really good tool in there. And as I mentioned before, lots of links to third-party products as well. We try to be very open in terms of the products that we surface in here, as we understand that accountants use lots of different functionality, lots of different products. So you can see lots of bookkeeping products in here that you can go into through this area. And what you will also notice in here is the activity feed, and the activity feed brings in kind of real-time notifications from lots of different areas of the product. So it brings you some articles from Accountancy Daily, so that comes in there through there. You can tailor that based on the subject matter that you're interested in, but you also can see internal notifications as well. So information on the digital information requests you sent out to your clients. If they've submitted something, it will appear in there. And also information around messages and documents. So whether someone has activated their OneClick account, whether someone has sent a message, whether they've approved a document, that information pops up in your activity feed for you to be able to review, and you know straight away when you've got in there, there's something there that you could look at. So that's the client accountant side, and what you'll notice straight away is the messages and documents area, which means the accountant also has their own version of messages and documents, meaning that they can access that when they're out of the office by logging in to their own CCH OneClick workspace. And going into the accountant side of messages and documents, we've got lots of areas here. You'll see a client list of all of your clients who you've activated to use messages and documents. So if you want to drill into that area and see the messages that they've sent you, you can do that. Or alternatively, you can go into your messages screen and see messages across all of your clients that you've received. In this particular scenario, I've only been working with one particular client, that's Bruce Wayne, so that's why you can see only Bruce Wayne in there. But otherwise, you see a list of all those messages that have come in across all of your clients. And probably what you are going to notice in here is that we have an I in here. And what does that mean? That I is a status that tells you if that client or that contact within that client has viewed that message. And let me look into that in a little bit more detail in the next screen. So I'm drilling into that message here, and you can see straight away that this message has been viewed by 1 out of 2 associated contacts. So if you've sent this message, as Anna Copeland has, to 2 contacts, she can see who out of those contacts has viewed that message and who hasn't. And again, this has been a really top item that has been requested in user voice, is that ability to see who has seen the message. We get a lot of practices calling up and saying, you know, a little bit of a problem with audit trail here. Our clients are saying they haven't seen a message. We really need to know if they have. It's really important for us to have that information. So you can see that through there in CCH OneClick. And also what you may or may not notice is a little bit of an example of formatting in this screen as well. So you've got here the bold in this particular message. You've got here some italics. So that, again, that's an example of that rich text formatting that I mentioned earlier. So these are some of the examples of the improvements in messages and documents that we've made. We've got others which I'll take you through in a second as well. But what I wanted to talk about is the DTA. So I've mentioned a little bit some of the information that you have in CCH OneClick, some of the products that you have available around making tax digital, around syncing up with your bookkeeping products. We have a lot of products in here. One of the ones that we thought we might highlight is the digital tax account area, because before you go on to CCH OneClick, if you happen to be using personal tax, then what you will notice is that there is a digital tax account area where you can view the information that HMRC hold on your particular client, and that information is shown to you via a PDF. Now, why we wanted to bring this to your attention is because, again, this is a big benefit from before and after you move over to CCH OneClick, and that is that once you've moved over to CCH OneClick, you will see something very different if you click into that digital tax account area. So you can click into that digital tax account area in Central, or you can log in to that to see that information through CCH OneClick. Either way, you will be shown this window. So you'll be shown this either if you go in through Central or if you go in through CCH OneClick. You will see a screen like this, and this is instead of the PDF that we are showing. You'll see all the information that's being held by HMRC for that client in here. On the right hand side, you will see the information that CCH Central holds within personal tax for that client. So that's quite interesting because it allows you to really compare the information that HMRC hold versus the information that personal tax hold for that particular client. So it's a really good way of quickly reviewing the information in there. And what's also very, very exciting about this area, especially over and above the PDF that we were showing before, is that you can go ahead and choose to tick if you're happy with these items that are being held within the digital tax account for your client. You can go ahead and you can tick all of those areas that you want to use, and you can press send to tax return, and that will push that information down into CCH personal tax. And that's all included as part of CCH OneClick. So there's real time saving and efficiency drivers in there in terms of that automation of pushing that information down, making sure that you aren't making any errors when you rekey the information, and also saving the time that it would take from any of your employees of rekeying that information. So we had that in digital tax account area when you move over to CCH OneClick. And also, I think, as I mentioned before, the data collection area, if your clients have submitted any information through the digital information request, we also have an ability in there for you to go ahead and push that information down into CCH OneClick, into personal tax, just to make sure that you keep that kind of efficiency going and that automation. So that's a digital tax account area, which we think is really important to note, especially now that we're going into tax season. It's a really, really valuable tool when you are pressed for time, as so often many of us are at this particular period. So some other CCH OneClick features of note, Practice Mobile. I'm not showing you this today, but we do have some other webinars which cover this. Some people who are familiar with CCH OneClick will be aware of this too. Practice Mobile is a native application which allows you to access the information on message documents. It's specifically for employees. You can see your clients from Central in that application on your mobile phone. You can see messages that you've received. You can send messages. You can send documents from document management and mark them for approval. You can do all of that through a native mobile app, and that's available for Apple and Android users. But also, it's probably worth mentioning, some people actually don't want to use Practice Mobile. I've got quite a few people who do. Some people choose not to. If you choose not to, we also have a mobile responsive technologies across CCH OneClick. If you log into CCH OneClick as an advisor, or if your clients log in, because Practice Mobile is only for employees, if your clients want to access it on a mobile, it is fully mobile responsive. So that means it will scale all the way down to your mobile, to the mobile size, and it doesn't have any of that kind of pinching and zooming in order to fit the screen onto the mobile, onto the your mobile. It really scales down very nicely to a mobile phone, so a client can quite easily use it on a mobile phone, or they can send messages, etc., through there. Additionally to this, very hard to convey improved synchronization on a slide, but it is some of that, we talked about some of the new technologies. We've made a lot of improvements in terms of how the data is synchronized between on-premise and online, meaning that it's ever so much more accurate in terms of making sure that the messages come in at the right time, making sure that the information that you send will go to your client if there's any kind of failures. For example, if your system fails for any reason, your message service doesn't happen to be on for any reason, problem with your servers, it will tell you quite nicely that it has failed, so you won't have any problems in terms of thinking that a message has gone out when it hasn't. So lots of improvements in synchronization in CCH OneClick. We have also added fields for client code and client's name in email notifications. So if you receive email notifications in terms of whether you've received a message from your clients, if your client sent you a message and you get a notification on that, you can add in the client code and the client name to that email template, which means you will know when you receive those notifications who it was who actually sent it to you. I think before we were being overly secure in terms of making sure that data wasn't sent by email. You can choose to have that information there if you want to. Also some work around task permissions to create but not send a message. So if you have any junior employees that create messages in your company for you, but they're not allowed to send it out to external recipients, then that's what you can use. You can give those employees permissions to just create the message and maybe send it to someone else in the practice to review it, but they cannot send it to external recipients. So we have that that feature in there. It's a nice way of ring fencing that process. And also, again, if you are receiving messages that other employees have drafted and you need to review those messages in Central, you get an email notification now if a message has sent to you to be approved. And one thing I've noticed I've not added into here, I was actually hoping to add a screen in here, and it looks like I haven't done that, but what I wanted to mention also is some of the new merge fields that we have as well for message templates. So a lot of our practices use message templates, want to use message templates. Some people had stopped using message templates because we didn't have that many merge fields for you to put into there. We have vastly increased the number of merge fields that you have in message templates now. So there are just dozens in there. So you can really tailor those message templates if you want to send out quick messages around payment on account or something like that. You can choose this year or the previous year, any kind of merge field that you particularly want. You can use that in the message templates. So that's one that's really interesting as well, I think, for lots of people. We had a lot of people asking about that. And a couple of other things that I wanted to mention that we're working on right now this quarter, a little usability improvement that's quite small, and a lot of people were asking for it, is when you reply to a message, specifically when a client replies, or now that accountants can use the online area, if as an employee you want to reply to a message online. What was happening previously is that you go hit the reply button and it would come up with a new screen for you to enter that reply, but you couldn't easily see the original messages that you were replying to. So we're working on that now, a little bit of a usability improvement there, just to make everyone's lives a little bit easier. So when a client replies to your message, they can see the message that the original message they were replying to, and it makes them, refreshes their memory and gives them a bit of a basis in terms of what it is that they're composing in their message. And also very exciting, we are working currently on the ability to allow mail merge in CCH Central to publish up to CCH OneClick. So if you think about all the things you can do with mail merge, you will be able to choose CCH OneClick as a delivery mechanism for the mail merge that you are creating. So lots of possibilities in that, and lots of possibilities in the increased amount of merge fields that we have in message templates too. So that kind of encapsulates most of the features that we have over and above in CCH OneClick. Hopefully you will have found that interesting, but obviously there is the small matter of what happens if you're a CCH Portal user in terms of migrating, and my colleague Richard is going to talk a little bit about that now.
Okay, so firstly, we've had quite a few questions already, including at least one person asking why we haven't answered their question yet. We will have the question and answer session at the end, as well as questions. We've had quite a few comments saying that's a great new feature. So
oh, good. I'm very glad
so there's some really good feedback.
Yeah.
So what we're going to talk about now is the process of migrating from CCH Portal to CCH OneClick, and there's a little bit of a process involved, and it involves both something that you need to do as the practice, and then your clients need to activate their new OneClick accounts. Before we do that, though, there's some additional functionality that Natasha hasn't discussed, and that is what we call our AAA functionality. AAA stands for, I should have checked this out, accounting something and authentication. I've forgotten what the third A is, but basically it adds to the security of the login process and allows you to use what's called multi-factor authentication. And anyone that uses internet banking is probably aware of multi-factor authentication. It's where you'll enter some login details, your username and your password, and then you might get sent an SMS code to your phone. You key that in as the additional login security. So I'm just going to show you that first, and then we'll talk about the migration process. We'll also, during the migration process, as you can see on screen, we're going to talk about what you should do about communicating to your clients, tidying up your database, the migration itself, your clients activating their OneClick accounts, and then resources available to help you through the migration process. So, firstly, if we look at our AAA system, multi-factor authentication, if you're interested in multi-factor authentication, it is optional at the moment. It's not mandatory, and it does need to be turned on before you migrate. So you do need to let us know that you want to use the AAA functionality. You can then set it up for your employees and your clients that when they go to log in, they can then choose one of these 3 options for the additional security, or they can choose all 3 if they like, and then each time of login they can choose which one they want. So they can use a authentication app such as Google Authenticate or Microsoft Authenticate, I think it's called. They can use SMS, being a code being sent to their mobile device or mobile phone, or they can use email, or as I say, they could use multiple options. What happens is when they log in, I've got 2 login screens here. The one on the left is without the AAA functionality turned on. The one on the right is the login screen looks slightly different with multi-factor authentication. So both of them can be branded with your logo, as you see in the top left of the corner, or top left of the screen. On the right-hand side, it's the one I'm going to focus on. I'm logging in as Bill Gates. I enter my login details. And then I see on screen a message saying a code has been sent to my mobile phone number. If I had said I want to be able to choose at the time of login between email and mobile phone perhaps, I would then select which option I want, and then I'd either receive the code to my email or to my phone. I enter the code and then I log in just as normal, and that will log me into the screen that Natasha showed you earlier for either the client or the employee. As I say, if you're interested in multi-factor authentication, you do need to let us know in advance of doing the migration. And what I'm going to talk about now is the migration process and how we can help you through that process. So firstly, I'm planning the migration. We're aware that, as Natasha said earlier, we're decommissioning Portal 31st of March. So you have roughly 6 months to migrate from Portal to OneClick. We're aware that a number of practices will have the tax season in between now and then. Natasha showed you the DTA functionality. That is a reason that you may want to look at migrating sooner rather than later. So when do you want to migrate? Do you want some staff training? So we have a number of consultants that are out on the road providing training to both new OneClick practices and Portal practices that are migrating to OneClick. We have 2 different sets of training depending on whether you're brand new to OneClick or whether you've come from Portal. So it can either be a full day on-site training or it can be a half-day remote training if you're comfortable that you know everything about messages and documents being the Portal functionality, and all you want training on is the other OneClick functionality. Interestingly, feedback that we get from the trainers is that practices that thought they knew everything about Portal, they find that they were only using some of the functionality of Portal, and the trainer is able to show them a whole lot of new functionality that actually exists in Portal, now exists in OneClick as well. And so the full day training is actually often better value than the half day remote training. If you want the training, then we would encourage you to migrate a couple of days before the training, so as the training can be done on your live data rather than on generic data. And as I mentioned, if you want AAA functionality, we need to turn that on before you do your migration. Database tidy up. So most practices, in theory, should, when a client leaves them for whatever reason, they would suspend the Portal access for that client. But it's important that before you do your migration, that you've checked that all your former clients are now either suspended or deleted from Portal. Otherwise, they're going to receive a migration email as part of the migration process. We have had a report of at least one practice who did a migration, and a deceased client, or the widow of a deceased client, received a migration email, which is not really what you want to do. So we have got a report within CCH Central that will show you all your Portal clients and the status of those Portal clients, so that you can go through and tidy up your database if necessary beforehand. Some practices have been using Portal for a long time and using Central for a long time, and some of the data may be corrupted in some ways. At one stage, the email address field within Central wasn't validated, so you could put in a phone number, for instance. OneClick doesn't like that, so we've got a tool that will go through and look at your data tell you whether you've got any problems with it, whether it's a difference between what's on the cloud and what's in Central, or whether it is a invalid email address, for instance. When we get to the resources section of this webinar, you will see a link to the video that shows you how to run the database validation tool. It's a very simple process, takes a couple of minutes, and if you do have any errors, we will be able to show you how to either fix those errors or arrange for a support consultant to fix them. Communicating to your clients. So this is an opportunity that you could actually sell yourself to your clients. Tell them that you're moving with new technology, you're upgrading to the best and the latest. Tell them why MTD is a reason. Perhaps a year ago we were talking about GDPR and that was a good reason. But also the benefits to the client, the improvements in the messages and documents functionality, rich text formatting, etc., as Natasha's just discussed with you. So for many practices, they say, well, we do a regular newsletter. We're going to tell all our clients about CCH OneClick and sort of sell CCH OneClick to the clients that aren't using the portal functionality as well. Then we would encourage you a day or so before the migration to send an email to your portal clients, just reminding them that tomorrow you'll be doing a migration. And when they receive the migration email, which is automated as part of the migration process, can they click on the link and activate their OneClick account? We'll get into that one in a few moments as well. Next is installing OneClick. The installation of OneClick will probably be done by your IT people, either in-house or external, but we do have a video that shows you how to install OneClick. It's a reasonably simple process. The important thing there is OneClick you have to have all your users logged out of Central while you install OneClick, so generally it's an after-hours process. The other thing is we don't put OneClick onto your license until you're ready for it. And the reason for that is we don't want you to accidentally install OneClick when you're installing a version update. So 2019.3 is due out soon. We wouldn't want you to accidentally install OneClick if you're not ready for it, because once you've installed OneClick, you can't continue to use all the portal functionality. And by that, what I mean is once OneClick is installed, you can't add, remove, or suspend clients from portal. And so going back to that database tidy up, you want to do that before you install OneClick. Next is the migration itself. The migration can be run during business hours, and we actually encourage you to run the migration during business hours. The reason being is in the unlikely chance that you need, unlikely possibility that you need support, we only supply support during business hours. So we would encourage you to do a migration during business hours rather than starting after hours or running on the weekend and finding that you had a problem and have to wait a day or so to get any support. Migration will take about an hour per 100 clients. So if you've got 400 clients on portal, about a half a day to run the migration. During that time, your clients and your employees during that time, your clients and your employees can continue to use portal functionality, both on the cloud for the client and within Central for employees. The migration itself will take the resources of one CCH license on the computer you're running the migration on, but everyone else can continue using both Central and portal functionality without any problems. When the clients receive the migration email, they will, so when the clients receive the migration email, they'll click on the link, and effectively all that is they will be presented with a screen as if they're logging into portal. They'll enter their login details. They'll be then prompted to create a OneClick account. If they don't know their login details, exactly the same as what they have in portal at the moment, they will click on the forgot password and follow the prompts. In a moment, I'm going to show you what we have in our resource center. We have a video that we would encourage you to pass on to your people that might receive the calls from your clients, whether they're your relationship managers, client service managers, whatever you might call them. So if a client does ring and say, I've received this migration email, I don't know what to do, the people that are answering the phone will know how to deal with that call. They'll know what the client experience is going to be. Once they have activated their account, they'll see all the messages and documents that existed before when they last logged into Portal, before the migration. So let's look at the resource centre, or resources available. So we will send this URL in a follow-up email to you. You don't need to copy that down. But in there, I've got a screenshot over on the right here that shows what you'll see there. So we have 7 videos, pretty much along the lines of what I've just discussed. So a migration planning video where and unfortunately you have to listen to me on all these videos. But in the migration planning video, I talk about all the sort of questions that you might have. It's pretty much a verbal FAQ, me going through and answering a whole lot of questions. Then I've got a short demonstration video of the preparation you might need to do within your database before installing OneClick. Another video, about 3 minutes long from memory, the database validation tool. The video that I mentioned a moment ago about installing OneClick. 2 videos for the migration. One is actually demonstrating what you will go through as a practice, and the other is what your clients will go through. And in the client video, I pretend to be a client that remembers their password, a regular Portal user. I pretend to be a client that can't remember their password or can't remember their security questions if you've got security questions enabled. And I look at various other scenarios. So hopefully by watching that video, you'll fully understand what your clients what the client experience will be for the migration. I've also got a 3-minute video that goes into a little bit more detail about what Natasha showed you earlier about the DTA functionality. And what we would encourage there is if you've got any concerns about that with the upcoming tax season, show that video to your personal tax team, and I'm sure they'll come back to you and say, well, let's get migrated before rather than after, because it'll make life so much more efficient for them. Also on the resource centre, we've got a migration guide, a step-by-step PDF, and a couple of videos about activating employees and activating clients after the migration, additional clients, for instance. From a migration assistance point of view, again, we'll put my email address in the email that will come to you either today or tomorrow. You're welcome to contact me with any questions you have. I've basically worked now on migrations for the last 1.5 years since we released CCH OneClick. I doubt that you ask me any questions that I can't answer, but I'm not a technical person, and if you do have technical questions, I've got access to the resources to get those answers. So that will save you having to go through the help, the normal support desk, log in a support call and waiting for a response. Come direct to me, and you'll be my priority to get you migrated as quickly and as efficiently as possible. Also mention the staff training. If you do want staff training, contact your account manager or let me know and I can contact the account manager on your behalf. But I do recommend if you do want staff training, get in sooner rather than later, because then once we've got that staff training booked, we can work backwards on when we're going to do your migration. So we're now up to questions. As I said, we've had a whole lot of questions. Natasha's actually sitting in front of the questions at the moment, so yeah, maybe you want to start by reading the questions and answering the ones that are specific to you. And
yeah, sure, no problem at all. So one of the questions we've had has been about OneClick timeout, and is it the same as Portal? I think there's some concerns around some clients with Portal felt that they were timed out when they were creating a message. So we did do a lot of work on the timeout for CCH OneClick. So yes, you will see some improvements on that as well, because it will now time out correctly, if that makes sense. So yes, there are some improvements on that too. Sorry, something just popped up on the screen. Another question that we have in here is, let me have a look. Will the look of the message center within Central change? And if so, how will it look? So not at present, the message center within Central looks the same as it does with CCH Portal. So if you're on CCH OneClick, it looks exactly the same. It's got the same functionality, apart from some added functionality that I mentioned before, like the formatting is available on messages as well. So that's kind of one example. And also you can copy in other employees as well. So it's the same as Portal, but kind of, and then some with all the features on top. However, I did see another question in here from someone asking if the ability to see who has viewed the message is available in Central as well as online, and that is, the answer to that is no. And the reason for that is because when we released it, it's a lot easier and a lot quicker to release things as part of an online release. So a lot of the time you'll find that functionality will come out first online, because we do online releases far more regularly. Usually they tend to be about once a month. We can do it without obviously the need for you, the end user, to install anything. So a lot of the time what we do is we release functionality online first. So that means you get the benefit straight away, and then if we do do it on premise, then that might come subsequently, because a lot of the time it means it's a bit of a longer process, and obviously it depends entirely on whether someone installs the application. So delivering things online first generally means that the benefits are felt more widely and far more quickly. So we have some other questions here. There's a question here about whether the client's activation email expires. In fact, actually 2 people have asked that.
Okay, so firstly, the migration email doesn't expire. The other part of that question is, if by chance your clients don't activate, and you'll be able to see who's activated and not, who hasn't, but you know, a month later you send them a message or a document and they haven't activated their OneClick account at that stage, all they need to do is go back to your old OneClick, your old portal URL. So let's say your practice was abc.clientspace. One thing we didn't mention was abc.clientspace.co.uk now becomes abc.accountantspace.co.uk once you've moved to OneClick. If the client goes back to abc.clientspace, they will then be presented with the OneClick, the portal login, and then they'll be able to fill in their details and then be prompted to activate their OneClick account. So first thing is the link doesn't expire, because the link in the email is actually just pointing them to the old web space, being clientspace.co.uk, to then fill in the details. And secondly, if they have lost that email, they can always go to that without an email at all by just typing in the URL.
Okay. Okay, so we have some other questions as well. So someone has asked, can we stagger client activations, or will they automatically all be sent out? Probably worth mentioning that when you do the migration, it will be, and everyone will receive it at the same time. It's very hard to manage alternatively, because obviously the whole system changes when you move into CCH OneClick. So you will, all your clients will receive it. So obviously you need to make sure that you are doing this as a kind of like a bulk migration for everyone. Very worth mentioning. Can
I add to that? We have done some very large migrations that have run over a period of days because of the size of the database. As I mentioned, the migrations do about 100 clients an hour. Previously, we had it running at about 50 an hour, so we've actually improved the speed of migration. It doesn't matter how long your migration takes. From the time you start it, as I mentioned, one computer is out of action from the point of view of CCH license, but your clients and employees can continue using the portal functionality, and it's only when the client receives the migration email that they need to act on it.
Yeah. Yeah, yep, that is very important actually to mention. So we have a question around costings. I was expecting to have at least one of those. So Richard and I can't answer that because we don't really deal with on the costing side, but you should speak to your account manager if you want to talk about pricing. It is probably worth mentioning that the CCH OneClick pricing for messages and documents is slightly different in how the pricing is taken, because we only charge at the point that a client has activated and has sent or or received a message. So that is very, very different, because it's not at the point you activate someone, it's at the point that they've received a message or they have sent a message. So they really have to already be engaged in that process, and I think you'll find that that is probably much more beneficial for practices. Can clients access data which is currently in their portal after one-click migration? So yes, everything that they had before, when they migrate, it will be the same. And also, you know, as a practice as well, all of your information will be retained in there. So there's you know, there's no kind of loss of data. There's no transfer in that respect. It will all still be there when they log in. They will just see kind of a different entry point, so to speak. Another question I have about is whether DTA will still be available on Central. DTA is still available on Central. If you choose not to move to CCH OneClick, you will still have DTA as a PDF. So that will still be on there. Okay, so we have one here on, can you go back to have AAA functionality if it becomes compulsory? So AAA, or rather a new authentication system which has multi-factor authentication, at the moment it is obviously optional, because we are rolling it out. We started rolling it out, I think it was few months ago, actually.
January, I think.
Yes, I think so. We started rolling out with a very limited practice base, as we tend to do with a lot of the features and the products that we roll out. And as we've gone along, we've started having a few more practices going in, and it's only really the last couple of months that we've started as a business pushing it out to all of our practices, or rather giving practices the option to choose to have it if they want to. There have been a couple of limitations with AAA in the past, which is why we haven't openly given it to everyone to start off with, and that was that it wasn't working with the practice mobile app and also the data request app. It was working only with the browser functionality. So that has been one of the things that has limited us in terms of pushing it out to people, and that is still the case. It's probably worth mentioning. So we do encourage people to have AAA, and the reason we encourage people to have AAA is because of the option of having multi-factor authentication. You know, we're living in a world at the moment where that's becoming increasingly more beneficial, and I think it is something that is suggested through GDPR perspective as well, to give people the option of having MFA, which is why we've wanted to push that functionality out as soon as possible and give practices the option to have that functionality, even if it is over and above some other functionality that may not support it at present. So we do have AAA. We do ask people, if you want to use it, by all means, we're happy to switch that on for you when you migrate. If you want to have AAA now, and maybe someone, I'm assuming most people on the call are portal users, but even if you switched on OneClick and then chose to have AAA afterwards, you can do that. It does require another little migration of sorts, but you can quite easily do that. So if you did happen to want to use it afterward, that's fine too.
As Natasha just said, if you said we want to migrate, we don't want AAA, and change your mind later on, we can do that, turn that on later on, but it does require a second migration. You may not want to do a second migration, which is why we encourage you to do it before, or make that decision before you do the migration from Portal to OneClick. Yep. We're running out of time.
Yes.
So thanks for your attendance today.
Thank you.
I think 95% of you that were online are still online now, and I'm sure some of you have also got other meetings to go to, so we will finish now, and we'll be in touch. Thank you very much.
Thank you.